Some of the most successful and loved exchange-traded funds in the stock market are managed by a company called ARK Invest. The company runs a few active ETFs and a few other index ETFs, and it is widely known as the best innovation-focused investment company among individual investors. Cathie Wood is the founder and chief investment officer of ARK Invest. She's continuously quoted and referenced by individual investors as the one to be followed. People even recognize her as the new Warren Buffett. Today, I will dig deep into ARK Invest investment methodology and discuss how individual investors, you and I, can replicate Cathie Wood and her team's approach when it comes to picking stocks and managing our portfolios. I will also show you how you can use the stock card to replicate ARK Invest investment process on your own. Of course, this content is not endorsed by Cathie Wood or ARK Invest, and it's only our interpretation of their investment strategy after reading and following their work for several months. With that, let's get to it. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Hoda, co-founder and CEO of Stock Card. You can find my investments in the stock market on a Stock Card portfolio store under Roll with Our CEO portfolio. Today, we are talking about ARK Invest and how the company make investment decisions. We start the discussion by looking at ARK Invest performance and check whether the buzz and the attention the company has received is truly deserved, and whether ARK investment performance is as good as what investors believe so. After all, as individual investors, we never take market buzz as the truth unless we can validate it. To do so, I'm using ARK's Q2 2020 quarterly report to show you the company's actual return on investment and compare it with the overall market's return, gauged by the performance of the S&P 500 index. ARK's ETF's year-to-date return at the end of Q2 2020 ranged between 27% for autonomous tech and robotics to 55% for genomic revolution ETF. Compare that to the S&P 500 index, and at the end of Q2 2020, the index was at minus 3% for the year. Indeed, the comparison tells us that the excitement about ARK Invest is well deserved, at least based on the company's performance at the end of Q2 2020. Kudos, ARK Invest. You truly deserve our attention. Now that we know that the buzz and the excitement about ARK Invest is based on reality, let's dig deeper and see what we can learn from Cathie Wood and her team at ARK Invest. How does ARK Invest make investment decisions? There are three aspects to ARK's investment methodology that we will discuss today. Firstly, the company focuses on innovation and future-shaping companies. Secondly, it's a new kind of long-term investor. It doesn't just buy and hold, it actively trades its long-term picks. In a way, the company is an active long-term investor. And thirdly, it takes an open source approach to research, and it is very transparent with its trades. Let's peel this onion layer by layer and discuss each of those three aspects of ARK Invest approach. If you have followed ARK Invest even a little bit, you couldn't have missed the company's myopic focus on innovation. ARK talks about it all the time. It names its funds based on those innovation themes and picks their stocks from those innovation spaces. These themes and companies end up being some of the most highly discussed and buzzed companies out there. Of course, Tesla is a good example that comes to mind. At first glance, you may think ARK is just a momentum investor because innovative companies end up being stocks with market momentum. It's very easy to mistakenly categorize ARK as a momentum fund. However, ARK does it a little bit differently. They don't just go and invest in any technology company. ARK follows a meticulous investment research process to distinguish between technology companies and innovative companies. It has a top-down process where the company's research team identifies disruptive innovations and themes through a detailed research process. This top-down research happens inside the company and in collaboration with external researchers. The most important aspect of the research is to figure out which technology has evolved enough that is ready for rapid growth in the next 5 years. Therefore, when it comes to picking stocks, the company doesn't just go and screen universe of publicly traded companies based on their sector being technology. Instead, it has done the work to identify the main types of innovation that are worth investing in. By doing so, ARK focuses on themes that are expected to grow beyond what we can see today. And that means investing in stocks that may seem expensive today, but compared to where they are going to be in the next 5 years, they're cheaply priced now. Now let me pause here and show you how you can use a stock card to find the list of companies that fall in those innovation themes that ARK Invest have identified. On the left-hand side, I have the list of main innovation themes that, as of the recording date of this video, have been marked as themes that are ready to take off. And on the right-hand side, I have a stock cards platform. I go to the Discover page and then click on the Filter tab and start typing in the themes identified by ARK so that I can narrow down the universe of thousands of stocks to only companies that are in those innovation themes that ARK has already done the work and identified them as rapidly growing market spaces. Now that we know how ARK narrows down its focus on companies that are operating in disruptive innovation themes and spaces, we need to know how the company actually picks stocks to buy and sell. The first thing we need to know about ARK Invest is that it identifies itself as a long-term investor. However, it's not a buy and hold investor. ARK Invest is an active long-term investor. This means the company is playing the long-term game, but does not shy away from actively buying and selling the stocks it holds. How does that work? Because classically, most of us long-term investors have learned that you find a well-managed company that is operating in a growing market, invest in that company, and let it ride. You learn that as a long-term investor, you wouldn't sell your holding just because it gains 20% one day. But Cathie and her team continuously buy and sell the stocks they own, even though they play the long-term game. Even ARK's beloved Tesla gets traded actively by ARK's team. Cathie and her team believe that their long-term focus gives them the advantage to play with market's short-term misconceptions and short-term disappointments in the stocks they own. And the company builds up its portfolio using inefficiently priced stocks due to the overall market's lack of attention to the long-term potential of such stocks. That explains why the company keeps buying and selling the same stocks over and over. The question is, how does ARK evaluate such stock and how does it decide whether to keep adding to the same company or not? ARK uses a 6-point scoring system to make sure the companies it is investing in are still on track to create outsized return. The company sells and takes its profits when it loses its conviction, maybe even for the short term, about the future potential of the companies it holds using the same 6-point scoring system. That scoring system drives active buy and sell decisions at ARK. Some of these criteria are very qualitative. For example, people and culture is very hard to measure with numbers being reported on quarterly reports or annual reports. However, there are still aspects of this scoring system that can be automated for some of us to use. So let me go to StockCard again and use the filters to get as close as we can with ARK's scoring. Again, on the left-hand side, I have ARK's scoring system, and on the right-hand side, we have a StockCard's filter screen. Previously, we narrowed the universe of US-listed stocks by the main innovation themes that ARK focuses on. Now I'm applying operational strength and past investment return to focus only on companies that meet some of those ARK's criteria. One other thing we need to discuss about ARK Invest, it's the company's open source approach to doing research and managing its fund. Perhaps the hallmark of ARK's openness is in its daily newsletter, where the company shares all the trades it has done during that day openly and freely with all its followers. This is a very unique approach to managing funds. Until now, almost all successful investors who have billions of dollars at their disposal tend to be extremely secretive about the research decision process and actual investments. Secrecy is Wall Street's muse, but not at ARK Invest. That's probably one of the reasons individual investors love ARK Invest so much. ARK doesn't take the open source approach to its investment lightly. Cathie believes that the company has got so much from this open source approach to its research. The community, the bloggers, the venture capitalists, and so many others have got involved in shaping the company's thinking about the future. So, in return, ARK shares its thinking on social media openly and freely. That's partially why ARK Invest has got so popular amongst us self-directed investors. Okay, here let me pause again and take you to StockCard. We used ARK's innovation spaces to narrow down the universe to innovative companies that are ready to disrupt and rally. We then applied as many filters as we could, and we ended up with a short list of stocks. Now, in the spirit of openness, I'm going to save the result of this filter as ARK Invest style watch list and share the link with you in the description. Look it up and add those companies to your watch list. And in the spirit of openness and sharing, following ARK's footsteps, please make sure that you share this watch list with your fellow investors. I'll see you next time.